When people ask me about presentations, they often say, how you have so much energy? How did you get all that energy? You must be so exhausted. You're pacing up and down and you're walking in the audience and you're asking questions and it's all this stuff pouring out of you. We've never seen such an energetic speaker. How amazing. And I think, wow, you're using a lot of energy right now. And I think to myself, I bet you don't use even a fraction of that when you get in front of an audience yourself. And what I say to people is this, you know what? If people hire me to speak at an event, and they want me to speak, let's say, for an hour, here's the tragic thing, from my point of view, if I'm not careful. You know, they're not interested in how much energy I use in preparing the slides. They couldn't care less how much energy I use going on a 14-hour flight there and back. They couldn't care how much energy I use in my room doing email while I'm waiting to meet with them or something like that. Those things are irrelevant. They are only interested in one thing, which is, what will the audience experience be like from the first nanosecond when I get up to speak until the last nanosecond of the last breath when I walk off that platform? What will happen? Will there be an extraordinary moment of revelation? Will there be an aha moment? Will there be a feeling of chemistry, of connection? Will there be a buzz in the room? Will there be a sizzle of electricity? Or will it just be, oh yes, well, there's another speaker who got up and he droned his way through a few PowerPoint slides and it was quite interesting. He made some few points and I made a couple of notes and that was it. Well, if we're going to create this wonderful experience, then why do we keep any energy back? See, what I say to speakers is this, or someone who's just about to give their first speech of their life, it doesn't matter. I say this. If you're capable of going to the gym after you've just given a lecture or a presentation at an event, you have dishonored your audience. I mean it as strongly as that. You have dishonored the people who have employed you. Why? They didn't pay you a fee to come so that you'd be able to go to the gym. They paid for you to sacrifice yourself for the sake of your audience, to give all of you, so that at the end they would have sucked you out and there's nothing left. Yes, not a word left inside you. No energy left, unless it's for media interviews or to have lunch with a few guests afterwards who want to talk. Yes, that's fine. But apart from that, you should be washed out like a rag at the end. And if you're not, well, you should have used more energy in the presentation, I'm sorry. So when people say, well, where do you get all the energy from? I say, well, it's easy. After all, my entire working day today was 60 minutes. And say, oh yes, but you'd have done all this stuff. Yes, I know, but all the rest of it's a load of rubbish, isn't it? The only thing that mattered was that 60 minutes. It's a performance thing. And if I'm in front of that audience for 60 minutes, every second has to count, my word. And one of the easiest ways to help it to count is to use all the energy I possibly can to communicate. And people often fail to understand that almost all of your personality disappears into the ether. It certainly does on this kind of medium, for example. Only a fraction of the personality energy that I'm producing right now in this room is going to come across to you on your TV screen in your home or your office in some other part of the world. Tiniest bit. It's partly the size of my head on your screen, which is, I should think, smaller than your thumbnail if you were to hold it up now and hold it up over your screen, you see what I mean. But realistically, a lot gets lost. And in a big audience, a lot gets lost. And that means that we need more energy. And now, you can overdo it, you can hype it up, and you can be completely over the top. And it's very, very important not to over-energize in a room where actually the result could be intimidation. If you've got only 5 or 6 or 7 people in the room, you're going to need to tone it down. It's almost a living room conversation. If you've got 15 to 20, you're going to need a bit more energy. But you still need to be respectful of the fact that in such a small gathering, they'll want to engage, they'll want a conversation, they want to push back, and they want to be on equal terms, so they don't want to be bullied into and bludgeoned into silence. But if you're talking about an audience of, let's say, 200-300 people, 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people, that's a different prospect. If you're going to fill that room, that auditorium, you're going to have to think very carefully about energy. And You might say, well, I've got a moderate-sized group. It's only 60 people. 60 people, my friends. That's a big group, actually. If you're only used to speaking at home or in some other gatherings to sort of 5, 10 or 15 at a time, or to your team of 12, 60 people, they need entertaining. And you will need to use every ounce of energy that you've got, probably. And I doubt if you'll be over the top. Most people don't get anywhere near it. Some, yes, they've got such huge personalities, they have to tone it down with 60 people, or else they'll just flatten everyone. But my guess is that you who are watching this video are not maybe a very experienced speaker. You will be at no risk whatsoever of over-energizing your audience. And anyway, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is they can say, well, he was a bit too lively, used too many arm movements, like windmill or something like that. Well, at least you kept them awake. I prefer, honestly, to have a complaint of being over-energizing than of being boring as hell, really. So, what's the lesson then? Use all the energy that you have. It's God's gift to you. Use all the personality that you have. Honor your audience by delivering yourself in a sacrificial way, so that you say at the end, I'm spent, I'm through, I'm done. I'm out of here, there's nothing left to have. And then maybe you'll be able to communicate more profoundly and more effectively than you've ever done in your life before. I expect so.